What's going on, everybody? My name is Peyton Burton, and I am the co-owner and co-host of the Everything College Basketball podcast and Facebook group. In today's video, I am be going over my personal favorite top 10 March Madness moments. Starting at number 10, let's go ahead and start this list off hot. Florida Gulf Coast University, the birth of Dunk City, upsets 2 seed Georgetown in 2013, then goes on to beat San Diego State in the second round a couple days later to go on to make the Sweet 16 in 2013, which, by the way, at the time, they were the first 15 seed to make the Sweet 16. This performance, these types of games that they were playing, they were up 19 points against Georgetown, 2 seed Georgetown in the first round of the NCAA tournament in 2013. They went on like a 21-2 run in the second half. Georgetown storms back, makes it a close game, and then all of a sudden it was just alley-oop city. You had dunks, you had Bernard Thompson and all these guys going off. You had a couple guys going for 20 plus. Sherwood Brown had 24. Bernard Thompson had 23. Those two guys were going off, and it was an incredible performance in a game that I would never forget in my lifetime. And I was a kid watching this. So that's number 10 on my list. Moving on to number 9, Northern Iowa's own Paul Jefferson hits a half-court game winner, versus 6 seed Texas in the 2016 first round game. This 2016 tournament is not going to be the last time I mention that later on, because this tournament was crazy. You had a lot of upsets. Northern Iowa was down 33-17 in the first half, and they stormed back and ended up making this a close game throughout the rest of the game. Hits a game winner, half-court shot from the C in the March Madness logo. Incredible shot, banks it in. The longest game winner, the longest buzzer beater in NCAA tournament history, a record that I still think stands to this day. An incredible shot, incredible moment. And that 2016 tournament was a wild one. So that's number 9 on my list. Moving on to number 8, the legend himself. One of my favorite performances in the NCAA tournament. Growing up, watching this as a kid. Lehigh's own CJ McCollum. 30-point game versus the Dukies in the 2012 first round game. I remember watching this as a kid. Obviously, this tournament was played in March. Obviously, first round, hyped up game. Duke was one of the favorites to go on there and to win the national championship and get to the Final Four. Nobody really knew anything about Lehigh. Everybody who was in the running knows how good CJ McCollum is now, but back then he was lethal, and he came out and had his breakout type of a game. I was a kid watching this. I was actually supposed to be doing homework, and in the middle of me doing homework, I was peeking up watching this game. And when they ended up hitting, after he hit one big shot to make him go up 5 points, 59-55, or like under 3 minutes to go, pretty much a dagger, and they end up winning this game. One of the best performances in NCAA tournament history, one of my favorite moments as a kid. That is number 8 on my list. Moving on to number 7 on my list, we have Georgia State's own R.J. Hunter's game-winning 3 versus 3 seed Baylor in the 2015 round of 64 matchup. Baylor coming into this tournament was a very good team, very talented. They had a lot of depth, a lot of good players on this squad. Had a chance to go make it to a potentially Elite 8, maybe a Sweet 16, definitely a second weekend team. And then R.J. Hunter hits a 40-foot game winner, basically being double teamed by doing it. This is the game that after he hits that, his dad, Ron Hunter, was on the bench coaching, and he fell out of his stool because he was so excited. Big ballsy shot from R.J. Hunter. What a classic March Madness moment. Incredible moment, and that's a shot. That's one of the biggest shots in tournament history. So that is number 7 on my list. Moving on to number 6. I got my Jayhawk gear on. It wouldn't be a favorite top 10 moments without having one of my Jayhawks on here. One of the biggest shots, one of the best tournament games, national championship games, period, in the last decade and a half. We go to 2008. Super Mario Miracle, Mario Chalmers, game-saving 3 versus Memphis in the 2008 national championship game. We had Brandon Rush. We had Mario Chalmers. We had Sharon Collins. We had a very talented team. This was John Calipari led Memphis squad his last season at Memphis. They had obviously the eventual #1 pick in the next year's draft, Derrick Rose. They had other good players on this squad. Derrick Rose goes to the line, potentially a chance to ice the game away with 2 free throws, misses them both. Kansas goes down. Sharon Collins gets a step on Derrick Rose, hands the ball off in the right wing to Mario Chalmers. Mario Chalmers takes one dribble, pulls up right in Derrick Rose's face. This close from Derrick Rose and getting his hand, or at least a fingertip on that ball. Mario Chalmers buries it. Kansas eventually goes into overtime, wins the national championship, which that was the time was the 3rd national championship, and it was Bill Self's first national championship at Kansas. So that is 100% on my list, and that is number 6. Moving on to our top 5, we have sitting at 5th, Florida versus Wisconsin in the 2017 Sweet 16 game. Now, I didn't put a specific moment on this. I'm going to talk about 2 of the key moments later on in the game, but this whole game was just wild to see. You know, both teams were very talented coming into this matchup. It was basically a toss-up of who was going to win, whether it was Florida or Wisconsin. I remember watching this and just being glued to my seat upstairs in my room, watching this and just being so excited to watch this game. I was very pumped for it, and it ended up exceeding my expectations. Big moment at the end of this regulation. Zach Sowalter hits a game-tying 3 in regulation to send it into overtime, and then Chris Chiesa hits a game-winning 3 in transition, a game-winning floater 3 in transition to win the game for Florida. It was a hell of a game, one of the best games I've watched, period, especially in this last decade. It was an incredible matchup. I had a lot of fun watching this, had a lot of good memories, and it was just a classic game, and you had 2 big shots from both teams, and it was a wild sequence in those final couple minutes in regulation and in overtime. So that sits at number 5 on my list. Moving on to number 4, Gordon Hayward's almost game-winning half-court shot in the 2010 national championship against the Duke Blue Devils. It's not too often when you do like big moments, you think of game winners or hell of the games or game type of great player performances. It's not often you talk so highly of a missed shot, or like you talk like you've experienced like a missed shot like this before, because Gordon Hayward comes this close to banking in a half-court 3, which eventually would have won them the national championship. Zubac goes to the line. They're up 61-59. He misses the free throws. Gordon Hayward gets the ball, dribble towards the right wing on the right side of the court, shoots up a half-court shot. Calcima basically gets murdered by one of the Butler players off of a screen. Honestly, could have been a foul, but I'm glad it wasn't called. Gordon Hayward shoots it up. The whole time the ball going down to the hoop, it looks like it's going in. Like it has a trajectory of going in. And it hits the backboard, hits the front of the rim, goes out. Duke wins the national championship. Gordon Hayward was that close to completing the Cinderella story of Butler and then getting them their first national championship. And if that would happen, who knows what would happen to Duke the rest of the years, because I don't know if they don't win that 2010 national championship. I'm not quite sure that they win the title in 2015 either. That's just my personal opinion. But that's number 4 on my list. We still got 3 to go. Top 3. Sitting at 3rd. The biggest shot in tournament history. Now, this isn't my... If this was best moments, this has to be number 1 in my opinion. But this is my favorite moments, therefore I'm having it at number 3. Chris Jenkins, game winner versus North Carolina in the 2016 national championship. What more can you say? This was Jay Wright's first title. They had a hell of a team. Ryan Alcano. They had Chris Jenkins, obviously. This was a hell of a squad. Jay Wright did a great job coaching this team up. Obviously North Carolina, they had Marcus Page. They had Joel Berry. They had a lot of good talent on this squad. It was definitely the favorites coming into this game. Hell of a matchup, back and forth type of display for the whole 40 minutes. Marcus Page hits a game-tying 3 towards the right wing, basically double clutches it. Bang time, onions, thinking it was going to go in overtime. Ryan Alcano dribbles down to the lane, hands it off to Chris Jenkins basically at the right wing, about a 35-footer. Goes up for the three-point, Jim Nades, and for the championship. Great call, buries it. Villanova wins the national championship on that game-winning shot. The biggest shot in NCAA tournament history, not in just recent memory, but of all time. That is my personal opinion. You can have your personal opinions if you want, but I think that's the biggest shot without a doubt in March Madness history. But that's up to number 3. We still got 2 to go. I just talked about the biggest shot in tournament history at number 3. Well, moving on to number 2, this is the biggest upset at the time in tournament history. UMBC, 16 seed UMBC upsets number 1 seed Virginia in the 2017 round of 64 game. The first 16 seed to beat a 1 seed ever in NCAA tournament history. I remember watching this game on my phone. Me and my friends were we was on our way. I was at my friend's house watching this game on my phone. We were watching the game on my phone. We was about to go on vacation to Florida. So I wasn't at my house. I was at my buddy's house. We was getting ready for vacation. And I was watching this on my phone, and I was just cheering. Let's go. Come on, UMBC. Just finish it out. Because I am not a Virginia fan whatsoever. This is a Virginia team that had DeAndre Hunter, who didn't play in this game. But they had Ryan Guy, or Kyle Guy, excuse me. They had Ty Jerome. They had other great players on the squad. Very talented. And they're the number 1 overall seed coming into this tournament. And they end up getting upset. Their first 1 seed to go down to a 16 seed in tournament history. What an upset. And at the time, it was the biggest upset in tournament history. And it still, I think, is up there for the biggest upset, period, in college basketball history, not just tournament history. But that's at number 2. Moving on to my number 1, the greatest player performance that I've personally seen in my lifetime. Carson Edwards. The year after UMBC knocks off Virginia, Virginia comes back rolling. They get their squad back. DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, Diakite. They had K.A. Clark coming off the bench. They had a hell of a team. Great team. Great, well-coached team. Coming back the year after, Sweet 16 game in Louisville, Kentucky, in the Yum Center. Carson Edwards goes for 42 points, 10 three-pointers made versus Virginia in the 2019 Elite 8 game. One of the greatest games I have ever watched in NCAA tournament history and just college basketball history in general. You had big shots hit. Carson Edwards was hitting some ridiculous threes. He was so clutch down the stretch. You had K.A. Clark hitting the game-tying or game-saving pass to Mamadi Diakite to send it into overtime, and then Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome was hitting shots. Carson Edwards was doing what he was doing. I mean, holy hell, what a game. And what a performance for Carson Edwards. He broke records in that whole type of run. He was just incredible, and it was one of the best, in my opinion, the best game I've ever watched and the best player performance I have ever seen, period. What a performance out of him. It sucks that Purdue ended up losing that game, but man, that tournament was wild, and Virginia ended up going on to win their winning a national championship first under Tony Bennett, which hats off to them. But what a game, and what a performance out of Carson Edwards. That is my top 10 favorite March Madness moments. My name is Peyton Burton, and I'll catch y'all next time. We are a couple weeks away from Selection Sunday, and I can't wait, baby. Let's go. See y'all.